Good evening, everyone. I'm Carrie Sliva with the City of El Mirage Communications and Public Affairs team, and also presenting tonight is Deputy City Manager Robert Nilles. Welcome to the third and final 2023 bond information meeting, and I'd like to remind everyone attending that the purpose of the meeting is to provide information about the bond program and the election. By law, city staff cannot advocate for a yes or no vote on the bonds, or even tell you our opinions on the bond election. We're just here to provide information. In tonight's agenda, we'll cover what is a bond, background information, bond projects, financials, the election process, and question and answers with comment cards. Now, the comment cards have been placed at the back of the room, and please write your question, and we will ask that you please print. If the questions are relevant to the bond election, and we can provide an answer at the end of the presentation, we will. We will only take written questions tonight and no verbal questions. The reason for this is to help ensure that we comply with statutes and remain neutral. We have copies of the questions and answers from the last public meetings in the back as well, so feel free to take a look through those in case you have the same question. And if we do not have the answer or we're unable to answer, we will respond to your questions via email. And again, please print, especially your email address, so that it is legible and we're able to respond. We also encourage you to visit elmirageaz.gov/bond2023. And I will now turn it over to Deputy City Manager Robert Nilles for the next segments on what is a bond and some background.
All right, thank you, Carrie. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay. So what is a bond, or specifically, what is a GO bond? We have a brief video that is available on the city's YouTube channel called What is a Bond? You're welcome to watch that at your convenience, but in addition, there are also videos reminding you to register to vote and the all-mail ballot that we have. For tonight, we will go into some additional detail on the topics of bonds. GO stands for General Obligation Bond. Simply put, selling bonds is a way for cities to build public infrastructure now and pay for it over time. The funds may only be used for the projects approved by voters. Similar to how a home mortgage works, cities use bonds to finance large construction projects such as buildings, streets, and infrastructure. Put another way, GO bonds are debt, basically a loan that is repaid over time, usually from property taxes. The city sells bonds to investors to generate cash for the projects, then pays the investors back with interest over a period of years. The payoff term on the proposed bonds would be approximately 30 years. The next few slides will give you some background on the proposed bond and other past bond issues for the City of El Mirage. In formulating recommendations for the 2023 special bond election, the City Council relied on a number of factors. According to the last census in 2020, El Mirage's population totaled 35,805 and has grown 12.6% since 2010, adding an additional 4,000 people. Growth figures were taken into consideration in the areas of residential, commercial, and industrial. External studies were conducted by the city that looked at the conditions and capacities of existing facilities. Cities routinely utilize the expertise of professional planners in order to properly calculate street, facility, and service impacts on the community. A facility needs study and a courthouse master plan are two of the plans that were utilized in determining the 2023 bond election question. In addition, the public safety studies, the city's general plan, the city's facilities master plan, the POCO City Citizens Survey, and other existing plans were used. Links to these studies can be found on the bond website at elmirageaz.gov/bond2023. The factors considered were prioritized based on the benefits to the community, the impact on taxes and the city's debt limit, the city's ability to execute projects, the city's ability in the future to fund the operations and maintenance of the new facilities, and the long-range planning for city facilities, including capacities at those facilities. I will now turn it back to Carrie to review the bond projects.
Numerous council discussions have been held over the past year on current impacts on service and on long-range planning for growth and expansion of city facilities. City council work sessions were conducted to determine what items should be included. It was determined in 2022 that the earliest a bond measure could be placed on a ballot pursuant to state law would be at a special election in November of 2023 and only by mail-in ballots. Then on April 18, 2023, the El Mirage City Council passed a resolution to hold a special election on November 7, 2023 for a $41.5 million bond measure. The breakdown of proposed bond projects amounts to $21.5 million for public safety facilities and $20 million for city facilities. The projects will all be on the ballot in one question, meaning a yes vote by the voters would approve issuing debt to fund the projects, and a no vote would not. As a result of the study and prioritization process, 4 projects are proposed in the bond measure. They are a second fire station, an expansion of the existing police station, a new courthouse, and an expansion of City Hall. The number of emergency and non-emergency calls continues to increase as El Mirage grows in population. From 2002 to 2022, the number of calls has increased 142%, from 1,900 calls in 2002 to 4,600 calls in 2022. The city's current fire station, located at Thunderbird and El Mirage Road, was occupied in 2012. The number of calls in the last 10 years has increased 48%. In particular, response times south of Cactus Road continue to remain above 4 minutes to reach an incident. In 2012 and 2018, the Insurance Services Office, or ISO, the organization that sets insurance ratings used to determine residential and commercial insurance rates for residents, completed evaluations of the city of El Mirage. The results of both ISO evaluations reflected a lack of infrastructure for fire protection in the southern area of the city. Information on how the city's ISO rating can affect individual homeowners' insurance rates can be found on the fire department's website, and there is a link on the bond website. In 2021, the City Council commissioned a follow-up study on the operational readiness of the fire department. The Center for Public Safety Management again identified the need to reduce response times. Included in the proposed bond measure is a second fire station, which would be located in the southern portion of the city. At approximately 17,000 square feet, it would have 4 bays to house additional fire apparatus, personnel, and equipment. Placement of this second fire station should result in decreased response times. The existing El Mirage Police Department facility was occupied in 2013, staffing 57 employees and 2 volunteers. Since then, staffing for the police department has grown to 82 employees and 3 volunteers, an increase of 45.6%. Conference rooms have been turned into storage areas, and employees are working in interview rooms and closets. The council commissioned a police operational study in 2021. The Center for Public Safety Management recommended constructing additional space for the El Mirage Police Headquarters facility by approximately 25%, or 5,000 square feet. The expansion proposed in the bond measure would accommodate the current and recommended staffing numbers, as well as secured parking. In particular, the El Mirage Police Department's Investigations Bureau space would be enlarged, and this unit handles criminal investigations, including complex homicides, violent crimes, sex crimes, crimes against children, gang investigations, and fatal collisions. To summarize, the existing police station would be expanded by approximately 5,000 square feet to include additional personnel space, additional secured parking, and a larger investigations bureau. The bond measure also includes proposed funding for a new courthouse, The current El Mirage City Court is located inside a facility constructed in the early 1980s as a community center. The El Mirage City Court shared a facility with City Water Department until 2001, when a fire forced co-location with other courts for the next 6 years. It has been in its current location for 16 years, which was not designed nor intended to be a courthouse. The caseload of the City Court increased from 2008 to 2020, with the number of cases filed increasing by 84% from 2008 to 2020. Cases resolved increased by 163% in that time, and personnel positions increased by 53%. An external study conducted by DLR Group for the Courthouse Master Plan in February 2022 determined that the overall building effectiveness rating was poor. It cited inadequate amenities for personnel, technology, and the general function of the court, including ADA accessibility issues. The safety and security of the facility rated fair, as did the overall performance of the facility. In addition, a court security assessment conducted in March 2022 by the U.S. Judicial Branch Security Threat Assessment Group recommended security-related changes to address public traffic control, employee parking, and building design. Court visitors currently wait in line outside the building under a temporary trellis. The study concluded that there was no space to make adaptations for the court to work in its current building. The bond measure would include the construction of a new courthouse building to address court safety concerns, modernize the facility, and provide ADA compliant space to address all court matters. The proposed court facility would be built to eliminate the need for customers to wait outside and allow the implementation of contemporary technology to serve the community. The proposed 18,000 square foot facility would be near the proposed new fire station in the southern portion of the city, which allows for closer proximity to other city departments, including police and administrative services. The fourth proposed project on the bond measure is the expansion of City Hall. The current City Hall at 10,000 North El Mirage Road was occupied in 2016 with 30 employees. There are currently 40 employees. The 2022 City Facilities Master Plan, which was referenced earlier, reviewed the current configuration of City Hall. The space plan reports that over the next 20 years, the city should plan to provide space for approximately 60 employees. City Hall houses city council chambers, administrative services, community services, development services, which includes city code, planning and zoning, engineering and building safety, finance, information and technology, and economic development. Some offices originally designed for one employee are housing multiple employees. Conference and meeting rooms and storage space have been converted to office space. The city is currently holding off adding personnel and services until space is available. Since the number of conference rooms has been reduced from 5 to 2, the City Council currently moves to other city facilities when council chambers is being utilized for other public purposes, such as a voting center. The proposed two-story City Hall expansion would add approximately 8,500 square feet. It would include its own building entrance, offices, conference rooms, and restrooms. In summation, here are the highlights of the 4 proposed projects in the bond measure. There is a handout on the back table of this slide, and I will return it back over to Robert for the financial components of the bond measure.
So the most common question we receive is, how will the bond measure affect my taxes? If you're interested in calculating how the bond will affect your individual residential taxes, you can do that in just a couple of steps. This portion of the presentation, though, only applies for residential property. First, you will need a specific number called the limited property value, or LPV, or sometimes just called limited value. You can get this from your latest tax statement, or you can find it on Maricopa County Treasurer's website, which is www.treasurer.maricopa.gov. Then you can type that number into the automatic calculator the city has provided online at elmirageaz.gov/bond 2023. So when you're on the city's website, here's what this section of the bond website looks like. Click on the tab, How will this bond affect my taxes? Just enter the limited value into the automatic calculator and it will do the calculation for you and give you the annual estimated increase. It's important that you do not click enter or submit, just scroll down and the number is automatically provided. If you would like to send that calculation to yourself in an email, you may enter your email address and then you can hit submit. Another option, you could also download the worksheet that we have provided tonight in the back as a handout if you prefer to use the long division method. The estimated average annual tax rate per $100 of assessed valuation is 1.0849, and you can use that figure to calculate the annual estimated increase on your own. The financial impact of the bond election will vary from resident to resident based on property values and the amount of bonds issued. Here is an example of the effect on the bond on an average home in El Mirage. The home shown was constructed in 2003 and is close to 1,500 square feet. According to Maricopa County, this home has a full cash value of about $311,000. Now, if you went to Zillow or a similar app, the market value could be different. But full cash value and market value are not used to directly calculate your property taxes. So I'll say that again. Full cash value and market value are not what is used to directly calculate your property taxes. The figure that is used, again, is called the limited property value, or LPV. For this home shown, that would be about $85,000 in 2023 and $89,000 in 2024. So pretty close to the average home in El Mirage according to the state abstract of the roll. Utilizing the limited property value for this average home in El Mirage, the calculated increase would be $93.60 per year, or about $7.80 per month. Here is another example with a larger home. You can see its full cash value is estimated by the county at $362,000 in 2024. This home has a limited value for 2024 of just over $99,000. Using round numbers, a home that has a limited property value of $100,000 is going to pay approximately $131.75 per year in additional tax. Here's another example of a larger home of about 2,200 square feet on just over an acre of land with a full cash value of $607,000. This home has a limited value of close to $250,000. Again, using round numbers, a home similar to this one would pay approximately $329.50 per year in additional tax. This chart shows the overall composition of El Mirage taxpayers. 64% of city property taxes are derived from residential. 36% of city property taxes are derived from other sources, such as commercial and agriculture. The other category grew by 2% last year and should continue to grow as the southern industrial area develops. Continuing that trend would reduce the residential property tax burden. As I alluded to in the last slide, businesses also pay property tax. The impact of the proposed bond measure on commercial property, assessed at 17%, compared to the lower 10% for residential, over the term of the bonds, would be $2,050.50 approximately per year, and about $59,000 total over 29 years. The impact of the proposed bond measure on agricultural property, valued at $100,000, assessed at a 15% rate, over the term of the bonds, is estimated to be $197.75 per year, or for 29 years, a total of about $5,735. With that, I will turn it back over to Carrie to explain the election process.
We'll now review the process for the all-male 2023 special bond election to be held November 7, 2023. Publicity or informational pamphlets were mailed to all households with a registered voter. This pamphlet also is on the bond website. This is a ballot by mail election. The Maricopa County Elections Department today, actually, October 11, has mailed a ballot to every qualified elector in the city. A completed ballot, including the signed affidavit envelope, must be received at the Maricopa County Recorder's Office no later than 7 p.m. on November 7, 2023. Postmarks don't count. Therefore, it is recommended that you mail your ballot no later than November 1st. The replacement center voting starts 8 days prior to Election Day. It will be open October 30th and remain open through Election Day at the time shown. And completed ballots may also be dropped off at the replacement center at City Hall in the drop box. At this vote center, voters may also request a replacement ballot if you do not have your ballot, provided you have the proper forms of ID. Our final agenda item tonight is questions and answers. If you have not already, please submit your questions on the comment cards provided and bring them to the front. Please print especially your email, as we will be responding via email, so please make that legible. If it is a common question and directly related to the bond election, we'll answer it tonight. At our last meeting, we had 44 questions, and because we must answer accurately and thoroughly, the volume of questions might not make it possible for us to answer them all tonight. We will email responses to you if you've provided your email address. As a reminder, our answers must be educational and informative only, and by law, city staff cannot advocate for a yes or no vote on the bonds or even tell you our opinions on the bond election. We also have copies, again, of the questions and answers from the last public meeting, so feel free to take a look through those. They may have some of your questions in them as well. So we'll just take a pause. Thank you for joining us tonight. Please visit elmirageaz.gov/bond 2023 for more information about the upcoming ballot by mail special bond election.